Month on Fox 54 is sponsored by Calhoun Community College.
Julia, just the ages alone of these young boys range from 13 to 19. They were falsely accused of rape and most were sentenced to death more than once. However, the truth would turn the tide and over the course of 80+ years. Here's a look at their journey.
These
Haywood Patterson
are their names
brothers, Andy and Roy Wright,
and their faces.
Eugene Williams, he was the second youngest.
It's the story of 9 young boys
Olin Montgomery, he was nearly blind.
that would capture the attention
Then there was Ozzie Powell.
of the world.
There was William Robinson. There was Charlie Wings, he was the oldest, he was 19. There was Clarence Norris.
Norris' son, also named Clarence Norris, 91 years later,
I see these things happening now with Maud Arbery, which is not too far from me.
sees history repeat itself.
It breaks my heart. And these families have to deal with the after effects of losing their loved ones doing something unjust.
Now in the present.
You have a book, Scottsboro Unmasked.
I sat down with the author, Peggy Allen Towns, at the Morgan County Archives. She explains how the Scottsboro Boys became a name.
March 1931, hobos jump a train in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And just as the train begins to go into Alabama, a fight ensues between the black and white hobos.
Towns said the white men who hopped or were forced off the train reported the fight to law enforcement in Stevenson. A call from the sheriff allowed citizens to become deputized in Paint Rock and stop the train.
The train stops. They pull 9 blacks off. They herd them onto a truck and carry them to Scottsboro.
But of the 3 white men who remained on the train,
2 were women disguised as men. They were Ruby Bates and Victoria Price.
this is when the women falsely accused the boys of rape because of what was called the Mann Act.
You would get arrested for crossing state lines for immoral purposes.
The first trial was in Scottsboro, but
All of the Scottsboro boys' trials were held in Decatur, but the first. So from 1933 to 1937, all of the retrials were held here.
an all-white jury in the first trials found 8 boys guilty and sentenced them to death a month after the accusations. The trial of the 9th and youngest ended in a hung jury when they couldn't agree on a sentence.
From these trials came 2 landmark Supreme Court rulings. The first is that you have to have competent attorneys in a criminal case, and the second is what we refer to as a jury of your peers.
4 of the boys' charges were dropped, 4 others were released, and another died while serving time for an unrelated charge.
You know, these were ordinary, everyday people that were in extraordinary situations.
It's slow, but we do see a shift in our justice system now.
I have faith in humanity, and I love my fellow man of all colors and creeds.
By 2013, all boys were pardoned by Alabama state representatives. At the time, Governor Robert Bentley said this:
In one of the worst forms of tyranny and injustice, after years of trials and convictions, the Scottsboro boys are finally clear, and it's important to clear their names.
Towns says we can learn so much from this story, and surely it's relevant now as it was nearly a century ago. And as we've seen, the Morgan County Archives has an exhibit of the Scottsboro Boys. You can visit the exhibit Tuesday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Over to you, Julia.